God, do you have a favourite Luke Cage quote?
I do actually, and it's from a comic where he travels to Latveria, funnily enough, and it's where he steps off of a plane and just says, "I just increased the black population of Latveria by 200%. Luke Cage is a comic book character who has had many adventures over the years, some of which have been realised in live action for a Netflix TV show that immediately got cancelled. And as good as that show was, I think it would have been better reviewed if it included the storyline of that time Doctor Doom got his ass beaten by Luke Cage over $200.
So anyone who's seen the Netflix show will know Luke Cage is a Marvel superhero.
Yes, and he has like the ability of indestructible skin. And like in the comics, he's like a bit different to how he's portrayed in the show, in that he's shown to be a lot stronger than the TV show makes him out to be. So I think in the TV show that he can lift a car or a fridge in one episode. And then in the comic books, he can like drop kick Juggernaut in the dick with enough force to stop him. There's a discrepancy there between like, you know, live action Luke Cage and comic book Luke Cage. I think like live action Luke Cage makes up for it though by just smouldering while staring into the middle distance. He's described as being a mostly street level hero, which essentially means he fights criminals even Spider-Man doesn't give a shit about.
So what is a street-level superhero?
It's basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a superhero who deals with shit that affects the working man on the street. So, and they will stick usually within one city, or even in some cases, like a specific borough of a city. Like Daredevil is a street-level hero, because obviously he works in Hell's Kitchen, and then Luke Cage in, like, you know, Harlem. And like in the shows, it's similar, but I think in the comics, it's a bit sillier, because they've been in comics so long that they have dealt with like galactic-level threats sometimes. But for the most part, Luke Cage is content, just like, you know, just stomp around New York, beating the shit out of criminals as part of the Heroes for Hire. Except for that time, Doctor Doom, of all people, hired him to beat up some robots that he'd accidentally made and released. As an aside, before we continue, I think a good comparison for, like, you know, the hierarchy of heroes from street level to ones who deal with, like, you know, multiversal threats is actually like the threat system they use in One Punch Man. Oh, this will affect like one part of one city. This can affect an entire city. This can affect multiple cities. This affects a continent. This is a threat to the entire fucking world. And they like rank those threats, and depending on like what threats they have, they send in different heroes. And I think it's similar in the Marvel universe, where like if there's a big enough problem, we will call up street level heroes. But for the most part, we let them do their own thing.
This is an emergency evacuation warning. Threat level, Demon.
So for example, if there's a guy robbing a supermarket, they're not going to send in the person who can level a city with their mind. They'll send in Moomin Rider!
Oh, Moomin Rider's the best character.
Moomin Rider is an S-rank hero in my eyes. He tries the hardest.
He's S-rank by heart.
He is, because he tries the hardest.
The bicycle is for justice. Moomin Rider is here.
Moomin Rider has come to save us!
What's the best Moomin Rider moment?
I mean, whenever he uses the bike.
Yeah, is it
combos.
Justice Crash? And he's just like, Justice Crash! And just crashing into a fucking guy.
Justice Crash!
Before we move on, we talked a lot about One Punch Man. I don't think we ever discussed like the lower level heroes and which ones we like the most. Obviously, Moomin Rider is like S-rank God Miracle tier. But like, what's your favourite like just like B or C tier hero that's introduced in that series?
I don't remember the names. Who's the buff guy from prison?
What, Puyo Prisoner?
Yeah, him.
Oh no, Puri Prisoner. Just Angel Crash! Like his entire power set revolves around the dong. I'm, though, a big fan of Speed of Sound Sonic. Like, obviously, like, Saitama's, like, more self-professed rival.
Oh, that guy.
And all he does, like, this, like, I'm going to do, like, a lightning-fast drop kick to your head and accidentally punches himself in the nuts.
Checkmate. Oops. Sorry.
We have to, though, give big old props to fucking Silver Fang himself.
Oh.
The buffest old man in the entire world, who responds to being backhanded, like, across an entire city by saying, oh, thank you for getting the crick out of my neck.
So why would a street level hero who only deals with like muggers and basic robberies and shit,
For the most part, yes.
why would they be working with Doctor Doom, the dictator and mass like supervillain?
Yeah, like super villainous ruler of Latveria. Well, there's one comic where Doctor Doom builds some robots that go rogue, and rather than find them and track them down and destroy them himself, he enlists Luke Cage, like the hero for hire, and he says, I'll pay you $200 to go punch these robots into scrap, which Luke Cage then does, and then Dr. Doom, being, as we've talked about before, a dickhead, stiffs Luke Cage on the bill and fucks off back to Latveria.
Dr. Doom, who basically owns the country and has all this technology,
Yeah.
and $200 is fuck all to him.
It's more the fact, though, that sums up Dr. Doom more than anything, though. The fact he's probably a multi-billionaire. Like, it's established that he sells his patents to, other worlds, like governments. He's one of the richest people on the planet. And he stiffs a guy on a $200 bill because he can't be arsed. It's not because he can't pay him, it's he doesn't want to waste his time. Like, rather than treating the whole thing as a learning experience and maybe not trust people called Dr. Doom in future, Luke Cage travels across New York to the Baxter building, knocks on the door, asks for the Fantastic Four, tells them what happened and says, "Can I borrow your jet to fly over to Latveria to get my fucking money?" And the Fantastic Four, presumably because they want to see, Dr. Doom get taken down a peg, of course hand over the jet to Luke Cage, who proceeds to fly it over to Latveria.
So what does Luke Cage do when he arrives in Latveria?
He punches his way into Dr. Doom's castle and says, and I quote, "Where's my money, honey?" As Dr. Doom turns over and goes, "Oh, I thought that might have been you, Luke Cage. I've been getting reports of a crazy black man flying around in Latverian airspace in the Fantastic Four's jet." Because apparently nobody in the Marvel Universe is crazier or blacker than Luke Cage. And Dr. Doom rightfully gets kind of pissed off and asks Luke Cage, "Did you seriously get a multi-billion-pound jet, fly all the way over here to get $200? To which Luke Cage responds by punching Dr. Doom in the face. Dr. Doom tries to electrocute Luke Cage, which doesn't work because Luke Cage got indestructible skin, and just sits there. It's like Luke Cage continues to punch him in the face over and over and over again until he puts a crack in his armour, which remember has survived hits from the Hulk. And Dr. Doom asks him to stop punching him and hands over the $200. And I'm just imagining Dr. Doom sat inside his armour going, well, no one man can get through my armour. And it's armour integrity 99.9%. And then it drops to 70%. And then 60, and then 40. Well, I better do something now because it's starting to get a bit serious. All I want to see now is a live action imagining of this scene with all the budget Disney can throw at it, just to hear Dr. Doom being like, "You fool, no one can get through my armour," as Luke Cage's like, "Well, the health bar on top of it says otherwise, Dr. Doom." Poof, poof, and you just see the little bar going down. And I want it to end with Dr. Doom going, fine, and get a wallet out and just handing over fucking dollar bills.
The thing that amazed me most about this, though, is that this is Doctor Doom.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about it a bit before, but he's got all this technology, he's a wizard, he's got a fucking country and an army.
And one guy he stiffed on a $200 debt managed to beat his fucking ass down and make him humble. And that is the fucking best. So you might think this story sounds pretty dumb, Brad, right?
Yeah.
Luke Cage punching his way into Dr. Doom's castle to beat him off over a debt. Something similar actually happens in a Batman comic, where Batman finds the guy who shot his parents. And there's multiple comics explaining multiple things Batman has done to this guy, Joe Chill. Well, my favourite one is where basically every night for a week, Batman breaks into his house and just beats him up and leaves. And every time it happens, the guy gets more guards and more security. And Batman circumvents it every time and beats him up again. And after a week of getting beaten up, the guy then says I can do this whenever I want. I can break in and beat you up whenever I want. Also, you shot my parents, takes his mask off. You can never tell anyone you're the reason Batman exists. And obviously you can't be a criminal and tell do you know that guy who breaks into everyone's house and beats the shit out of them has got the reason your family's in prison? I'm the reason for that. So the guy then has to live with the knowledge that he created Batman. He shoots himself. I just like to imagine that the reason Dr. Doom doesn't do anything to defend himself is he's just so surprised that someone had the balls to just walk up and punch him. It's it took him that long to comprehend what was happening, and by which point, Luke Cage already punched 1,000 times in the head. I can't stop thinking of ways I would like to see this scene realised. I want to see it in a fighting game and just see Dr. Doom's stun meter getting built up. It's Luke Cage, he's just doing fucking spinning Hagger lariat combos to it. So good.
So Doom basically has to pay him the money.
Oh yeah, Doom pays the fuck up and Luke Cage leaves.
And then presumably after that, Doom's going to go after him because no one fucks with Doom.
No, Dr. Doom then proceeds to never mention the incident again. Yeah, that happened because comics in the 80s were amazing. I think it's safe to say that, an overriding theme of today's video is, superheroes doing petty things, correct?
Yeah.
So let's discuss the most famous example in all of comics, and that is that Thanos in one comic, like every year on some random person's birthday, uses the Infinity Gauntlet to break into his house and annoy him. Like, this is the thing that happens. It's real. You can look it up. And I just want to discuss now, because Avengers Endgame comes out today. We're going to watch it after this. So let's imagine for a moment that they decide to put this into the film. What you have is, you have like an extended montage set to happy 80s music in the style of Guardians of the Galaxy, of Thanos using the Infinity Gauntlet just to troll people because he's bored. Like, what would you do? Like, let's say for a moment, Brad, you have the Infinity Gauntlet, you have Thanos. Well, I think the best way for us to handle this, so it was like go off on a random tangent for 10 minutes, is zero in on what he would do with each individual stone. So what can Thanos do with the power of the Power Stone to piss off the Avengers in the most petty way possible?
I reckon move someone's car on the corner. You parked your car in front of your house, he just moves it around the corner.
Just pushes it around. Well, I'm thinking power in a more like literal sense.
Yeah.
And you just use it to make sure like your internet router always goes off. Half the world is dead. Why can I still not get on Netflix? Oh no, what he does, he makes it so he drains like 75% of the energy out of each of the batteries in the remote. So it still works. You have to press the button really hard. So it's to the point where you don't
keep having to take them out and hit them.
So you don't want to replace the batteries because it still works, but just not all the time. Or you have to get really close to TV.
Let's go with the Soul Stone.
The Soul Stone. Well, the Soul Stone's basically like power over life, isn't it? So I think you should just get like an immortal bee. Make a bee completely immortal so it cannot be killed, and make it so it constantly follows the Avengers around, like right near their ear, and it cannot be stopped. So what's the next one?
Time.
Well, obviously for that, all the clocks in the house got to run at different times. That's the one. Like, make it so they're always late for meetings. Oh, go on. What's the next one?
Let's go Mind Stone.
The Mind Stone. Well, the Mind Stone, that'd be the best one for that is just make it so they always. Do you know when you're like sat in bed and you're about to go to sleep? Make it so that you remember like something really embarrassing you did. So you can't sleep, so you're just like agonising over something stupid you did a couple of years earlier.
I thought you were going to say that what you should do is like every day when say Tony realises he needs to take the bins out, you make him forget it, and then make him remember it when he's in bed, so he has to get up and go and do it
that's
there.
a good one.
I'm hoping you can use the Space Stone to make it so the bins are further away.
Oh, that's a strong one. The Space Stone. The Space Stone can teleport, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah,
so I'm just going to say what you should do is just leave big shits in the toilet, but like with plausible deniability. Like, do you have to like Black Widow goes in? Like leave a big shit in the toilet and don't flush it. And then when obviously Tony goes in, he'll say, Natasha, did you leave like a big shit in the toilet? And it just starts an argument. It's like, I didn't leave a shit in the toilet. I know how to flush a toilet, Tony. Alternatively, if it's the Space Stone, he can like to teleport and move stuff around. Yeah. The classic there would be just like move the TV like an inch to the left every time so there's glare on it. So every time I try to watch it, it's like, there's glare on this TV again. Who's moved the TV?
You can use it to sort of reach in and just pour out someone's cereal. So that you go in the cupboard, he's like, Tony's like, who the fuck? Who the fuck ate my Fruit Loops?
Cereal. No, what he doesn't pour it out, he eats it. He goes into the fridge and takes a bite out of their leftovers. I contend that there's nothing worse than someone who steals something from you but doesn't steal all of it. So I say that the worst thing that happens is when someone steals one of your shoes. Because you've still got one shoe, but it's useless and you have to throw the other shoe away.
Well, you mentioned shoes there. The last one's the Reality Stone.
The Reality Stone.
Imagine if he made everyone's shoes one size larger.
Got the ultimate one for this. Use the Reality Stone, so when people are asleep at night, make them dream that they're at work. They do a full day of work, and then they wake up in the morning, and then they've got to go to another full day of work.
Was that not a Mind Stone thing?
I'd say it's a Reality Stone, because obviously you're altering their perception of reality. Do that. And then what you do is like you make their perception of how fast time at work's going really slowly.
What I was going to suggest is that you use it to make it look like there's an extra step at the bottom of your stairs, or vice versa.
Or alternatively, like when you like sat on the toilet and you think you see a spider like next to your foot, that. Like, there's going to be a lot of toilet-based shenanigans in Avengers Tower if I had the fucking Infinity Gauntlet.
Everything happens in the bathroom.
Because that's where you feel the most vulnerable, so it's where it's the easiest to fuck with somebody.